present this Twilight 2000. It's a role-playing game which came out in 1987, although this is the second edition, I believe it says somewhere. Nope, not on the cover. There it is, second edition, which came out 3 years later. It came out in 1990. That sounds about right. Yep, second edition, 1990. Twilight 2000 is role-playing in the devastation of World War III. It's an interesting setup. The players play a group of US soldiers. Although obviously you can have different setups. By default, you're US soldiers who are fighting the Soviet invasion of West Germany. So East German and Russian USSR soldiers. And there was a war going on, conventional war, soldiers against tanks and bombers and all that, when the war got hot and World War III broke out and went nuclear. So you're a bunch of soldiers left in Germany. I believe actually it's Poland you start off in. And civilization has collapsed. Cities are wrecked. You're getting no commands from headquarters. You're getting no supplies. You have no reason for fighting the war. So the aim of the game basically is do what you like. Are you going to head and try and get a boat somehow to sail the Atlantic back and get to the United States and find out what's happened to your family? Are you going to set yourself up in the ruins as local warlords? What are you going to do? And for that reason, it's why Twilight 2000 has been one of those games which I've never run, because I feel it's too good to be run. It's too perfect. It's setting it up so the players can have complete decisions. Well, I know me and my friends don't play that kind of game. We tend to follow the lead. The game master will set up that we're going to a castle and we're fighting the evil dragon, or we're in Shadowrun and Mr. Johnson's hired us to kill somebody. In Twilight 2000, getting dumped in Poland and just deciding whatever we want to do seems a little difficult. Twilight 2000 did love its weapons. In fact, let's go through the sort of equipment section, because while there's a lot of interesting stuff in the rulebook, lots of information on military forces of different sides, this was all terribly well researched. What Twilight 2000 loved doing was vehicles and weapons. So we've got from bicycle through Humvees, cars, trucks, and you would get books full of things like this. Civilian car, tanks, everything you need for the modern warfare, the battlefield. More tanks, lots of tanks, so many tanks and missile launchers, small boats, how fast an elephant would go, although how you're going to get an elephant in Warsaw, I don't know. Lots of boats, and then we're on to the guns. Well, I can understand sort of in World War III having to raid a museum and get a black powder pistol. Is there really any need for so many different pistols, so many machine guns, submachine guns? There are just loads and loads of weapons. Just loads and loads, miniguns, grenade launchers, RPGs, the rocket-propelled grenade variety rather than role-playing games themselves, missile launchers, artillery. In fact, Twilight 2000 would bring out sourcebooks like this, the Heavenly Weapons Handbook, which is just vehicles and tanks and guns and an entire book, 100 pages of artillery, of massive guns. Now, I can't see the use for having that many. Surely in a set of rules, a role-playing game, the game of the imagination, you should just have missile launcher, gun. Especially when the players can't get too choosy and committed to things. They're going to find a warehouse full of Polish guns, and they're going to stock up, and then when they run out of ammunition, because they're not getting logistic supplies, they're going to rob a Soviet Union unit of their guns and get AK-47s, and they're going to find some dead British people and get British assault rifles, the gun, as they called it. I can't remember. SA-80s. But should the players be that picky? Random encounters. The game really stocks you up. So you've got sample encounters. Just that you can put in randomly as people explore. Houses to find. Lots of blueprints. It's a brilliant game which sets things up, and it does make it easy to run. I just always felt that I wasn't up to the standard of running this game. Have we got anything else before the end? There's a lot of text. The pictures are all fairly generic. There's Poland. So we start off somewhere in there. We can decide if we go to Warsaw and take it over, become the warlords of Warsaw. We've got Berlin over here. We've got various harbours up the coast for us to go to try and steal a boat from. List of US nuclear targets. Where was hit? Canadian targets. USSR targets. All the details and environmental hazards of radiation. And then we're on to price lists. You know, how much you're going to bargain for. And hit locations. But I always loved the idea of a Twilight 2000. They did do a number of fascinating adventures that detail what events are like when you get back to America, helping out the sort of military government that has still survived there, having to beat an attempted Soviet invasion. There's a big campaign, The Last Submarine, where you have to recover a submarine from a local warlord and then sail it off into the Mediterranean for one last strike against the Soviets. It's very well set up. Again, on the adventure front, I particularly loved their Twilight Nightmares, which was set up for quirky and unusual adventures. The way that Call of Duty has zombie levels. Twilight 2000 had its Twilight Nightmares. So you would find a robot factory which had built a giant destruction robot, or I believe one was sort of Jurassic Park. A millionaire had cloned dinosaurs, so your bunch of straggler soldiers, having survived the nuclear war, suddenly we're up against Tyrannosaurus Rex. Ridiculous stuff, but that was fun. And Twilight 2000, I really don't get, would be a lot of fun. It would be an enjoyable game to play. It'd be very satisfying to play and build up your recovery of civilization and that kind of thing. But I believe, you know, watching your villagers die of radiation poisoning and trying to find a new source of water because all the cattle have died doesn't strike me as fun. Anyway, that was just a little bit on Twilight 2000, one of my favourite non-played role-playing games. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you later.